On this Saturday night, a Manitoba community in mourning, paying tribute to lives lost as we begin to learn about those killed in Thursday's highway crash. And advice from the mayor of Humboldt, lessons learned from the tragic bus crash there. Massacre at a Ugandan school.
Have they been killed, students?
Dozens killed, others kidnapped, the manhunt now underway. And permanent flight cancellation, WestJet shuts down Sunwing.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
At this intersection along the Trans-Canada Highway in Manitoba, people are stopping to lay flowers, paying tribute to the 15 people who died here when the bus they were in and a transport truck collided. Good evening and thanks for joining us. We are in Dauphin, Manitoba tonight, where most of the dead and injured from that crash are from. It's a small city, about 8,500 people live here, and almost everyone has a connection to those who were killed and injured. Global spoke with one man who knows the pain they're going through. In 2016, his son-in-law died in a different crash at that same intersection, and he was driving nearby when this latest one happened.
Thursday, there was an ambulance behind me, there was an ambulance in front of me, there was a cop car past me full speed. I knew there was something going on up west. I knew it would have been that intersection, and sure enough, as soon as we, about a mile away, 2 miles away from that intersection, we could see the black smoke. And I told her, I said, hey, get ready. I said, something happening up ahead. Sure enough, it just brought back everything, because we sat there that night. We sat there the next day, for a week, we sat there trying to figure out why. Stop asking why.
Some of the survivors of the latest bus crash are still in the hospital in Brandon and in Winnipeg. And because of the way the crash happened, most of them have serious injuries. Mike Drolet has an update on that.
Outside Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre, family and friends of the surviving victims of the tragic Trans-Canada Highway crash speak in hushed tones, if they're able to speak at all, through their grief. With so much uncertainty around prognoses, they don't know what to say. The horrors of Thursday's crash continue to cast a long shadow over Manitoba. Most of the survivors, all seniors, were ejected from the bus onto the highway after it was hit by the semi-truck.
These are quite extensive injuries. Like I said, 6 of them are in critical care, receiving life-saving support. Many orthopedic injuries, as you can imagine, and some others as well, but predominance of orthopedic injuries.
Although police have said the semi had the right-of-way, determining all the contributing factors won't be easy. Investigators have said they need to know more about the condition of the vehicles and how fast they were going.
The question that we're more interested in is going to be, did the bus driver attempt to cross both directions of travel at once? Or did they come to a stop and yield in between the lanes before proceeding?
Lloyd Clausen, who has driven trucks for over 40 years, knows the Carberry intersection well.
So many times.
Clausen says as soon as the bus entered the path of the semi, there was no avoiding a crash.
If this truck would have been a car, the car would have come to a quick stop. But you can't come to a quick stop with an 18-wheeler. Not with a Super B. I drive a Super B. And you're looking at 40,000 pounds at 110 kilometers an hour. How can you stop?
Sadly, the answer to that question played out for all to see. Even the most hardened to accidents, like tow truck operator Robin Watton, are having a hard time processing this one.
I've seen stuff that kind of turned my stomach.
And just like the families of the victims in hospital, he can't say any more than that. Mike Drolet, Global News, Winnipeg.
We fully understand not everyone here in Dauphin wants to talk to the media, and we have no interest in intruding in their grief. But some people do want to tell us a little bit about their loved ones. Melissa Ridgen is with me. Melissa, you spent some time here.
Yeah, Don, there's a lot of grief that still is hanging over this city. There's people who are trying to figure out who is among those who are recovering, who has passed on. Two families actually have shared with us their loved ones, the loss that they've suffered. Helen Cuffley and Shirley Novikowski have been confirmed. We've talked with their families. RCMP and health officials aren't commenting any further this weekend. We could expect maybe some updates this week, though.
And it's such a small community, Melissa. What's it been like being here?
You know, the people have been so welcoming. It's, which is interesting, sharing your grief, opening your community to strangers like the media who come here to report on things like this. So it's been incredible. We've met some fabulous people. There's a community support center that's been opened here. It's not well used, I wouldn't say. There's not a big rush of people in there. Lots of people are just grieving at home. We talked to the man who set it up, a counselor here, and he said it's not about the quantity of people who come through here, it's about the quality of care that they receive while they're here.
They might be a distant friend, they might be a neighbor that no one else knew about, and you wouldn't think to go talk to them, you know, to say, do you have a need? But they came to us, so that was really good, because they didn't know where else to go, and they felt they were feeling really poorly. There are a lot of victims that no one sees.
A lot of victims no one sees. That really sums it up, right?
Exactly. That's who they're there for.
All right, Melissa Ridgen, thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, many people in the community of Dauphin are turning to one another, trying to find some comfort and hope, whether it's through faith or fellowship, while waiting for more word on those who survived and those who are never coming home. Marney Blunt reports.
Barry Nadoli lights up the candles at St. Paul's Anglican Church, the place of worship, looking to support those who are struggling during dark days.
We're all in a state of shock, and now we're into mourning and into grief and disbelief.
He says the community is binding together in a time of need, including all the local churches, and many have been reaching out.
A few calls that say, you know, I used to go to church, but can I come on Sunday morning?
The crash still a shock for a tight-knit community. Florence and Mike Marchak say they're waiting to hear the news and names.
We haven't heard the names yet, but we are sure that we would know.
The couple has lived in Dauphin for 90-plus years. They say this is the most devastating event to happen to their community.
It's too bad, terrible for the families and everyone.
A support center is still set up at the recreation center in Dauphin, but the mayor says most are staying with their loved ones during a time of need.
I think there's a complete range of emotions, from being very distraught or very involved in this because of a family or a very close friend or relationship, to other people just feeling a collective sense of sadness as being members of our community.
Some churches will be holding special services Sunday morning, including the one here at St. George's Ukrainian Orthodox Church, to pray for those who are still in hospital and to honor those who tragically lost their lives in this horrific crash. Donna?
All right, Marney Blunt. Thanks, Marney. Grieving families has been set up. The number to call is 204-647-5058. And a support center, as Marney mentioned, is also being run out of the Dauphin Lutheran Church for those who feel they need it. We'll be back from Manitoba a little bit later, but after the break, the rest of the day's news, including an horrific attack at a school in Uganda. Farah.
Donna, the details are disturbing. Dozens of teenagers are dead, some kidnapped after a rebel attack near the border with Congo. Coming up, the manhunt and who authorities believe is responsible. Plus, no more fun in the sun as WestJet details the future of Sunwing Airlines. A horrific scene unfolded in western Uganda late Friday night when suspected members of an extremist group attacked a local secondary school. At least 41 people, including students, are reported dead, and some others have been abducted and possibly taken into neighboring Congo, roughly 2 kilometers away. As Reggie Cecchini reports, this latest attack is part of a string of assaults launched by rebels, and we want to warn you tonight that some of you may find these details very disturbing.
Standing behind a police line, residents of Mpondwe, Uganda, stared on at the horrors of an attack on a secondary school dormitory now in smoldering remains. More than 36 people died. Many of the victims' bodies were found burned or hacked. It's very unfortunate that a mistake was made and our children have been killed, says this guard with the Uganda People's Defense Forces. 54 people were believed to have been at the school, with officials unclear how many managed to escape.
There could be others who ran into their homes and are not yet here. So exact number is not yet.
Local authorities said in a statement at least 6 students were abducted and brought towards the massive Virunga National Park that spans some 7,700 square kilometers.
Should we say they are rebels that came to kill our people? Is it security within Uganda?
The suspected group behind the attack is the Allied Democratic Forces, a group formed by Ugandan Muslims in the early 1990s opposed to the rule of the Ugandan president.
I want the security to tell us where they were when these killers came to kill our people.
Both the Ugandan and Congolese governments have been working to root out the terrorist organization, which has pledged allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. Military strikes have weakened it, but its guerrilla tactics often strike a deadly blow. The military, in this video from a local newspaper, says it believes the group spent 2 nights near the school before it was raided. This is the deadliest attack by the ADF since a suicide bombing in 2021 in the capital of Kampala. The government is now using DNA to identify the remains of the dead in this latest attack. Reggie Cecchini, Global News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin interrupted remarks by visiting African leaders seeking to mediate in the war with Ukraine to say their proposals are misguided.
Он поставил там свою подпись. Вот он.
Putin held up documents claiming the African group's proposed peace deal with Ukraine was actually initiated by Kyiv. The leaders were welcomed in Kyiv on Friday, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told them he failed to see what could be gained from the group talking to Putin. The war has severely restricted the export of grain to Africa, intensifying food insecurity in the region. WestJet is planning to shut down Sunwing Airlines just weeks after it's finalized its takeover of the company. An internal memo says Sunwing will be integrated under the main WestJet banner within 2 years, adding the change will unlock growth opportunities for both Sunwing and its employees. There is no indication Sunwing Vacations will also shut down, suggesting WestJet's planes could be flying Sunwing tour package customers to their destinations. The change comes a week after WestJet announced it would also be folding its ultra low-cost carrier, Swoop. One community understands firsthand what it's like to deal with an unexpected and unimaginable tragedy. Ahead, we speak with the former mayor of Humboldt, Saskatchewan. There is one politician in this country who probably understands better than most the journey that the leaders and residents of Dauphin, Manitoba will go through in the coming days and weeks. 5 years ago, then Mayor Rob Minch led Humboldt, Saskatchewan through one of Canada's most high-profile highway tragedies, the fatal bus crash involving the Humboldt Broncos junior hockey team. Rob Minch joins us now. He is a city councillor at the moment, but again was the mayor at that time. Thank you so much for being with us, especially as I'm sure this incident has been re-traumatizing for many in your community. I know you've spoken to the mayor of Dauphin. What was that conversation like?
Well, first and foremost, I offered my condolences to the mayor and to the community of Dauphin. It's one of those things where that's what you just go to right off the bat. It's just one of those things. So we talked about a number of things when we talked, and I offered him any help that I could give in the coming weeks and months to, if there's anything that we've learned over the last few years that we would be able to share.
You and the leaders in your community have such a unique perspective. When you look back 5 years later, knowing what you know now about this unimaginable journey, what advice and lessons can leaders in Dauphin learn from your experience?
Well, we often talk about physical injuries and that type of thing, but I think we need to pay attention to the trauma that's happened and the grieving and the injuries, like the mental illness that can happen in these types of situations. So make sure that is attended to.
I mean, this crash has also once again brought road safety into the focus. Do you think that there are gaps or shortcomings on rural roadways like this one? And has anything changed since the Humboldt crash on Saskatchewan roads?
Well, I think a lot of good has come out of the accident in Humboldt 5 years ago. These are all usually provincial jurisdictions, and I know the Saskatchewan government has been working to increase safety in a lot of the intersections and that type of thing. So we often look at what good can come out of a horrible tragedy, and sometimes these things are something that we can look as being good coming out of a horrible situation.
Yeah, you've spoken about that previously. I know how you've been, relying on looking at the positive to help you get through in terms of healing. And, the entire country is watching this tragedy. So many people want to help. They're sitting at home. They're wondering what they should do. What was most helpful for your community at that time?
Well, just, I guess, the well wishes and the notes and the cards and that type of thing. When you're at the lowest you can be, sometimes just having people reach out and tell you that they're thinking about you and offer your prayers and well wishes. Those go a long way to help in the healing process. Often people, I think, do these gestures not only to help the receiving end, but to for their own healing as well.
Rob Minch, former mayor and now city councillor of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, thanks so much for your valuable insight in this difficult time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Next, truckers unpacking the Manitoba tragedy. We're back in Dauphin with Donna with what it's like to go through that very intersection and why some drivers were waiting for this to happen.
There are thousands of truckers on Canada's highways every day, and you can be sure all of them know about what happened near Carberry, Manitoba. I was at the Manitoba Professional Truck Driving Championships earlier today, and I spoke with a man who trains long-haul truck drivers and has driven that route on the Trans-Canada Highway himself multiple times.
I actually was unfortunate enough that there was some pictures that were posted on Facebook initially, and then they were taken down. I seen one of them. And it's something you can't unsee.
What are drivers telling you about that?
A lot of guys are saying that we've been waiting for this to happen in Manitoba for years. Humboldt was, I remember being in the hockey rink in Verdun when we heard what happened. And it was like, we knew this was coming.
When you're training them now, when students are seeing what happened there, it must send a bit of a chill, right?
Well, a lot of them look at it and they're like, what happened? So you try to explain to them, guys, these are one of those things where even though we don't want to lay blame,
no, of course,
but even as the driver of that bus did what he did, even you still as a commercial, like when you're driving truck, it's more than just sitting there listening to the radio driving down the highway. Those intersections are one of the, I teach the students when we're in, now I teach at the city of Brandon, so you're wanting them to look 2 and 3 blocks ahead all the time. Recognize what you're seeing for what it is.
Yeah.
So when you're coming, now chances are that poor guy with Day and Ross probably didn't have a chance to react. I drove into Winnipeg last night from Brandon. The marks are all still there.
Yeah.
You can see exactly where the impact was.
When truckers are driving past that, or past any intersection, what goes?
You see a vehicle pull up, the first thing in my stomach and in my brain is, please don't move. And your foot, and you're just waiting. And if you see them start to move at all, okay, now you're into it. Like now it's braking time. And some of them will just shoot across in front of you. Some people will move and then, oh, they seen you, and you see the vehicle jerk and they stop. Okay, good. Okay, good, we see, and you go by, make eye contact with them.
Those 2 drivers of the bus and the truck,
That's tough.
Think they're doing?
Well, I'm thinking they're going to need somebody to talk to for a while. Not only, of course, the fellow that was driving that bus, that's gonna be awful. And then the truck driver, what do? You can see what's coming, and at a highway speed, that is a 100-kilometer-an-hour zone through there. And even at 100K, when you're pulling a set like he was, trailers, if he was fully loaded, I don't know what he had on, but that happened. All you can do is push that brake pedal and hope. And
there is no hope.
There's no hope there. It's just everything happens so fast. Again, you know, prayers and condolences to the families. I hope the drivers eventually can get their feet set on the ground and look forward again. We don't want to lay blame. We know what happened. There's no point in finger pointing. It's not going to do anybody any good at this point.
Condolences to the families of all those involved. That is Global National for this Saturday. I'm Donna Friesen in Dauphin, Manitoba. Have a lovely evening, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.